I'm pleased to be here today to welcome Danita Warren, CEO of Master Builders Australia, to Northern Tasmania to launch the Master Builders election campaign, Strong Building, Stronger Economy. We've chosen the north of Tasmania because of its importance in the upcoming election. We know that the seats of Bass and Braddon may very well determine who leads this country over the next 3 years. We've also know that how important the construction industry has been to the economic prosperity of Tasmania since the onset of this pandemic. We've had a boom in residential construction with over 2,000 houses started thanks to government stimulus. We've had a boom in jobs with a renaissance in the apprenticeship training system, thanks to government support. We're here today to encourage the voters of Bass and Braddon to vote for the party with the best plan for economic recovery so that we can get on with rebuilding Tasmania.
Good morning, Danita Warren, Master Builders Australia CEO. It is great to be back in my home state of Tasmania, launching the Tasmanian leg of our Strong Building, Stronger Economy campaign. It is vital that whoever wins government at this coming election, that they focus on building and construction to be front and centre of the economic recovery. That is why we've asked both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition to outline an economic plan for recovery to ensure that we can get on with the job of rebuilding the Australian economy. For every dollar spent in building and construction, $3 is returned to the Australian economy. That's one of the biggest multipliers of any industry in this country. There are over 2,500 small business tradies in Bass and Braddon. And they are also hurting at the moment from a cost and cash flow crunch, which is really concerning them in terms of running their businesses. They're finding it hard to find labour in this low unemployment environment. They're finding it hard to find building supplies. And so they need support from governments to ensure they can get on with the job of building. In terms of the specifics of our campaign, we're focused on housing affordability and who is going to be the best party to lead a focus on housing ownership. It is critical that a federal government work also with state governments to ensure we are maximising supply of homes, whatever they may be, to suit individuals under any circumstance. We're also very focused on ensuring that businesses can get on with the job of doing their work, and that includes ensuring that self-employed tradies can work without being constrained, and also ensuring that unions are doing the right thing by not prohibiting the activities of businesses, by calling for the retention of the ABCC.
Great. Aside from the stimulus, is it mainly the thing you're focusing on is those apprenticeships, those trade numbers and the building supplies? Because it seems like there's houses everywhere, they just can't get built quick enough.
The houses can't get built quick enough, but also it's about supply of land, supply of titled land. It's about the costs of doing business in terms of housing. And that is the responsibility of state governments and local government just as much as the federal government. So we're focusing on that issue about collaborative work between governments at every level to ensure that we're rolling out as much supply as possible in terms of housing, and that will keep the lid on cost of housing. But we also want to focus on skills and apprentices. We've identified we need 300,000 more workers in the industry over the next 3 years. That is a significant number, particularly half of those will need to be tradespeople. And so we're focused on who is going to provide the best outcome for us in terms of securing apprentices. The building and construction industry employs more than 50% of Australia's apprentices, and we need more. So we need to ensure we are encouraging as many people into the industry as possible.
So are you lobbying both sides, I guess?
Yes, we are. We have lobbied both Labor and the Liberal Party over the last 2 years about what it's important to us in the building and construction industry. And we know from our polling, and this includes polling in Bass and Braddon, that the key issues of importance to the industry and swinging voters relate to cost of living, which includes housing, it includes cost of doing business, it's about concerns about union activity prohibiting businesses getting on with the job, and it's also about infrastructure spend in their local communities, including social infrastructure. They are the four key things, and they are the four key things we've asked both parties to come out and really step out a plan so people can make an informed decision about who is going to be best to lead economic recovery.
Do you have any examples about the union activity? I'm just trying to understand what that issue is.
The union activity relates, unfortunately, to illegal industrial activity by militant building unions. Unfortunately, we've had decades of behaviour which has meant that we've had to have the Australian Building and Construction Commission that seeks to try and provide that watchdog role of regulating their activity that prohibits the activity of building. Unfortunately, Labor have called for the abolition of the ABCC, and so we are extraordinarily concerned we'll see heightened industrial activity that will reduce productivity in our industry, which means less money back into the economy.
What was in the budget for your sector, or what was your reaction to the budget?
We were very happy with the federal government. It really focused on small business, it focused on skills, it focused on apprentices, it also looked at infrastructure, and it also looked at housing. On the flip side, we were very disappointed in the budgeting reply by the ALP. They focused on one issue and did not mention small business at all. And we know that small business is the heart of economic growth in this country.
So are you not expecting any type of housing announcement potentially, or construction from Labor?
We've seen Labor put out a social housing policy, which we've supported, but we'd like to see more, particularly in relation to encouraging home ownership. We know home ownership ultimately will provide the best security financially for people in the longer term. And while it's important to look at short-term needs, the prosperity of all individuals is about owning their own home.
When you say cheaper costs for businesses to do business, what do you mean by that? What are you looking to see out of both the major parties?
We're very conscious that supply of materials has skyrocketed. A lot of that is not in the control of governments, but nevertheless they can assist. And we've seen some movements from the Liberal Party, for example, providing some freight assistance in getting timber from long distances. But we'd like to see more, particularly in relation to local manufacturing. Labor have come out with a policy that we think is a good start, and likewise so has Liberal, but we think more can be done in that space.
How much more do you reckon those the building costs and the cost of doing business for a lot of these produce has gone up in, say, the last 2 years?
Well, we're seeing increases across the board of around 30 to 40% for some products, and across the board around 20 to 25%. It's put a huge stress on the industry, and while they've been extraordinarily busy thanks to the stimulus that governments have provided during COVID, they've got to balance that with those rising costs. We're hoping to see costs starting to stabilise and potentially go down, but that's unlikely to be over the next 6 months. So we've really got to support them as much as possible in this next 6 months to ensure that they can keep on employing Australians.
So you kind of be looking for both of the parties to shoulder some of the cost of those rising costs we've seen for those materials.
I think the important thing is for the parties to actually facilitate and use their levers to help us provide and look at ways to provide supply of products. And so that is things like, what is the ACCC doing around potential price gouging? The issue around how do we use our trade levers to work out alternative ways to get product into Australia more quickly. They're the types of constructive discussions we're expecting from both sides of government, and that's what we're expecting in terms of a better economic plan.
Cool. And just to go on from what Matt said, why have you chosen Tasmania to launch the campaign?
We're here in Tasmania because we know it's going to be vital in terms of whoever is going to win the federal election. There are 2, possibly 3 seats in play, and that will be crucial in a very tight election outcome. So it is important that voters in these electorates understand how important building and construction is to the economy, and take note of that when they cast their vote.